tonight. I appreciate your cooperation. One man show, right? You get to make all the decisions, give all the directions. Here we go. All right, we're beginning with the CRA workshop. We have a budget workshop that's going to follow this workshop. More of our commissioners will certainly be here for that. Dallas, take it away.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioner. We did add this workshop at the very last minute due to the fact that at our last workshop we had some very heavy discussion items and we wanted to give the commission enough time to consider those items. So we did add this less than a week ago. So our first, wait, it's not on. Never mind. Our first topic is going to be the proposed CRA budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. As a reminder, this purple area on the screen is what your CRA area includes. It's primarily most of your downtown, and it does include some areas that are in the CRA and generate funds for the CRA, but due to your interlocal with the county, we're not allowed to spend CRA dollars in those areas. Those are those red areas, primarily like Newberry, Oaks. What's that? What's that neighborhood called? Oak Park. Oak Park, and then the one. So as a reminder, all of your CRA dollars have to be spent inside the district on items that were in your adopted plan. So for your 2025 proposed CRA budget, we did see an increase in our tax increment financing, about $40,000. So that's $80,000 when you combine our portion with the county's portion. So our revenue went up $80,000 from last year. Major changes in the CRA budget from last year to this year are the addition of a CRA manager position. That position is split with the general fund, and we'll be doing both economic development citywide and then CRA specific projects. Yes, sir. That position is currently being advertised and we are currently recruiting. Slight increase in your operations and training and memberships, increase in your facade grant funding. One of the things we've heard through some of our conversations with your downtown businesses through the downtown strategies is that our current facade grant isn't enough to accomplish the projects that they would like to accomplish. So we're adding some more funding this year, hopefully to get some more impact from that project or from that grant program. A decrease, pretty significant decrease in your contract and professional services. This year, you had a couple of items such as the stormwater engineering report that were funded out of the CRA, as well as the downtown strategies plan, which was funded out of the CRA. So going forward this year, we have some design, some marketing funding, and then implementation of that downtown strategic plan. And then the big one is your infrastructure line item. Just shy of $1 million. Projects in the CRA for next year include sidewalk improvements throughout the CRA district, street light improvements. We have a utility extension program for infill projects within the CRA so the city can extend utilities to make those projects more financially feasible. And then our two big projects are reconstruction of Southwest 254th and Northwest 260th by Lois Fort Park. As you'll see, our expenditures do outpace our revenue, but we do have CRA fund balance from the current year and the year previously that we plan to spend on your CRA in 2025. And then this year, 91% of the CRA funds are dedicated to CRA projects. And that concludes my CRA presentation.
Questions? Can you go back to that slide? In the visioning workshops we've had downtown, hosting
downtown strategies. we have enough to make some progress in the next fiscal year for sure.
Has anybody taken advantage of this facade grant program?
My understanding is that we had two applicants. One did not follow the application process, and one gave up because they couldn't meet the requirements of the application and it wasn't worth the money. So
So
we haven't given anybody any.
Is that going over budget? And do we now have $50,000 in the facade grant, or did it get reallocated?
All of your fund balances that is rolling over into next year is going to pay for the infrastructure projects.
Okay.
So we did increase the facade grants by 12,500.
Do we have an ordinance that facade grant, or is that?
The CRA board adopted a policy on what the facade grant is, and it is one of the first tasks of our new CRA manager to look at facade grants and to look at other grant programs. Like, one of the grant programs that's really successful in other CRA is a residential painting program, where it's essentially a facade grant, but we'll pay you to paint your house and make your house look nicer with a fresh coat of paint. So look at some of those sorts of grant opportunities that we can do to incentivize and upgrade our CRA area.
Before we had the CRA, we need to make a splash. Somewhere, something. Where's the splash? Have we done a project that with CRA money, I just don't know enough about it to be celebrating that publicly and say, this is our CRA money, or do we have one out to launch and say, look here, is the Royal Park a recipient of a large portion of the CRA?
The Memorial Park is not receiving any, it is inside the CRA, but it's not receiving CRA dollars. The biggest splash that I think we've completed CRA life to date is the sidewalk projects that we've completed on the north side of town. So we've paved a number of sidewalks over by Lois Fort Park, as well as in one of the neighborhoods that direction to create a comprehensive network. I think once we have a CRA manager on board who can spearhead these projects, Southwest or Northwest 260th is going to be a great splash right along our park there.
Probably the first project that's in process that we make. It's Northwest 260.
Do we have any renderings of that? Because I show the light plan frequently to people. Tell them, hey, this is what I have to describe it. And I think we can make a splash even project just by having some. Oh, this is what you're funded. Large part through CRA dollars. I know that what I've heard is that businesses downtown feel like we're waiting to do a lot of downtown stuff onto repairs. Some truth to that, I don't think it's. I do think some downtown things that we can point to that say CRA got this facade, got this building.
One of the projects, and I believe we do have some rough renderings that we can provide to the commission on that. One of the projects that is starting now is the renovation of the parking lot in downtown at the municipal building. That'll be done. That's being paid for with CRA dollars. We also have a grant application in for the mural program, which will be a very noticeable splash. Spoke earlier with our capital projects team about, a number of years ago, the CRA had all the downtown pressure washed, doing that again in next year's budget. But I don't think we have a.
Is the CRA dollars? Can CRA dollars go to?
I think it would be. It can. You have to prove that the project is inside of your plan, and so I'd have to double check what the plan is, and that it's combating blight and increasing taxable value. So you'd have to show that the Veterans Memorials is combating blight.
And I'm not in any way suggesting. About things like a splash pad. CRA eligible?
The skate park, maybe. The splash pad, I think anything you can do that is generally drawing people into your downtown to spend money in your downtown is going to be eligible, as long as you have that direct correlation of we built a splash pad and now look, there's a brewery or there's a coffee shop that the parents go to.
Because what I've noticed a lot of city halls have, it's not necessarily a splash, some like water feature and it just shoots. With toddlers, think it's, toddler doesn't care, right? They
Right.
just want to get wet and they want to run through it. But much less in terms of maintenance, attractive feature, probably less, I found that whole word is just something on there. That's, and that's what's we get. How can we go out and help assist the business? How do we make a splash?
Agreed?
That was all that I had. Nothing.
You're good.
Hearing no other questions, we'll go to citizen comment. Anybody here on behalf of Main Street, the Lions Club, or just an active resident want to say anything to us about CRA budget?
I've been told.
CRA budget is our Christmas initiative. Is helpful.
Yes, and it is funded in this budget.
It's funded. Go ahead.
An increased funding from last year as well.
I don't understand why there's hesitation on the Veterans Memorial. I mean, it's a city, it's on city property. That definitely will bring people downtown.
I agree. I mean, I think it is, and what I heard was we just have to make sure, because your CRA dollars are supposed to be taking areas that are blighted and unblighted. And we're gonna beautify it so that more people can dance. I think the veterans is absolutely helpful. I don't know that it's what percentage is helpful. And I don't think it needs 100%. I think it's
Yeah, they're,
80% there, 75% there. Right?
Yeah.
So we can help push it over the top and get this thing done. Just, I think definitely with the 260th improvement and the Veterans Memorial, to me, that becomes very clear bookends on our downtown. Instead of just this area being downtown, all to pull everybody to a larger downtown.
So, one point, absolutely check the plan. This proposed budget has no room for any other funding opportunities, so if the CRA board wanted to fund the Veterans Memorial, we would need to either reduce one of the existing projects or wait until 2026 to fund
The
it.
Veterans Memorial could go in the red this year, next year.
I believe so. I'd have to double check because the CRA's got some different rules, but
I mean, I think we'll probably be successful next year. It's how it has the, I think we get the project started. And we need to get creative later. Very pretty to wear that shirt.
yeah, I don't watch sports. I didn't realize anything happened last night, but I have heard it all day long.
I mean, nobody in this room is gonna go after you too hard because you're kind of two peas in a pod right now, but my money's on Miami. It's just a national championship contender, and we actually look really good. Not compared to clearly the team that's gonna go against Georgia. All right, hearing no other questions, we will adjourn. And we are gonna call this budget workshop to order. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a new budget workshop that was put on the last minute, so we were down some commissioners who already had things on their calendar. But it's important to get this out, information out to the public. All of the commissioners will review these budget workshops and submit any questions, comments, feedback to the city manager, as you are welcome to do as well. With that, I would ask Dallas to kick us off.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Our agenda tonight is to discuss the fire assessment and some options we have for the fire assessment. That's why Attorney Walker is joining us tonight. To finalize your millage rate, to discuss development fees, to discuss our rate proposals, and then to discuss a purchasing authority question. Mr. Mayor, I'll leave it to your discretion if you want to postpone the fire assessment to later in the presentation, if some other commissioners will join us.
I'm sorry, I've been off this whole time. Dallas, give us an update on staff's readability to make a presentation. I know that Commission asked some questions about the fire assessment. Staff was going to spend a couple of weeks looking at it. Are you in the middle of that process looking at it? You think you have a plan moving forward?
Mr. Mayor, the city
your
attorney, the city attorney and I have had some conversations. The city attorney's office has been doing a lot of work. I believe they have some options for you tonight, but we are continuing to look at options. We have a phone call tomorrow with our assessment attorneys, so we can give you a high-level overview
I would
tonight of
say
the options.
actually, I don't want to put anything out there because recently, even when you say you're looking at something, some people only hear that's what you're doing. So let's have those conversations. Let's get staff's recommended path forward. Then we'll start at that point. So let's just skip the fire assessment tonight. You guys will finish that plan. We'll have, hey, here's our best two paths forward. You guys pick one or the other, but both are defensible and both are workable, manageable. Then we'll make a presentation. Let's move
Absolutely,
on.
and we can provide you some email correspondence before next week, because as a reminder to the commission, we do have to make a decision on Monday as to what path the commission wants to take. So, thanks for joining us, Scott. You get to speak for our budget workshop now. So, as always,
That's probably the only reason you came tonight was just for that.
I always am happy to be here.
we did receive our preliminary population estimates, as I mentioned to the commission last week, but we updated our graph. So as of April 1st, 2024, we're just shy of 9,100 residents here in the city. So of course, people have moved in since April, so we're probably above that now. But as you can see, our population continues to grow. Here's a breakdown of all of the capital expenditures we have planned for 2025. Wastewater obviously is kind of skewing things. That's the wastewater treatment plant estimated expenditures for 2025. But as you can see throughout the rest of the city, we do have numerous capital projects going on. The grand total is just over $70 million in capital projects throughout the city, which does include that wastewater portion. Skipping fire assessment. Moving on to millage. The city proposed budget is balanced at a 5.9000 millage, which is the same millage rate as you adopted last year. As a reminder, the commission did adopt a 6.0 millage as your preliminary millage, so you do have some wiggle room to go up to that 6.0. A couple of things that are not funded in the budget here with the current 5.9 millage rate is if we want to redo the fire assessment, that is not funded. We've been in conversations with a company who is similar to the government services group, but who performed a road maintenance assessment program for the city of Northport, which operates similarly to your fire assessment, where it's an annual assessment that goes straight to repair and maintenance of your roads and right-of-ways. I believe the mayor asked us to look into that earlier. We've had a meeting. They're preparing to present to the commission in October how that would work. But if the commission wanted to move forward with that, that is not funded in the budget. We do have contingency fund funded in the budget, so if the commission does like the assessment program, wants to move forward with it, we can use contingency fund. So, I am looking for some feedback on if what rate you would like me to bring forward next week.
And what's in the budget right now is 5.9 or 5.9882.
5.9000, same millage rates last year is what's in the budget currently.
And the commission has the right to go to a straight 6.0.
Correct, which
And
would
what's the
generate
difference?
$80,000.
$80,000 more. Any thoughts? 5.9?
I hate to say anything without anybody here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we just need to say, what are we plugging in Monday night, right? So why don't we plug in 6.0 and let the commission roll it back to 5.9?
I agree.
And then we'll see what it is. That way we start with worst case scenario, we only make people happy, right? Instead of starting with 5.9 and making people mad.
Easier to cut it than it is to raise it.
Now it's on social media.
It's true, right.
As a reminder, here's where your millage rate is in comparison to the other cities in Alachua County. This is current millage rates, not proposed millage rates, so they're all going to change. But as you can see, with the exception of Micanopy, we do have the lowest millage rate in the area. As a reminder, last week the commission gave staff direction to step in the development fee increases for water wastewater. So I just wanted to remind the commission that that was the direction you gave us. It will be.
And this is on the workshop that we had to get to that.
This was Wednesday's workshop for the wastewater treatment plant. Yes, sir. So this will be a step in.
Monday is the first vote to formalize that.
Correct. As a reminder, the rates would go into effect in January of 2025 and subsequently January of 2026.
Are these similar to the impact fees where once they go into effect, there's 6 months?
A 90-day cool down, which is what the January 1st
is
date is.
reflected, okay.
All right. So moving into your utility rates, we were able to come back with some slight rate reductions from our previously proposed rates. So previously, we proposed a 2% rate in electric. We were able to cut that to a 1.5% rate increase. That rate increase does provide for one additional lineman to be hired in the electric department, and as you can see, does balance your budget.
And before we leave there, Jamie, anything that we need for our mutual aid agreements to be able to work on is in the budget this year? Or is that a separate, do we need to have that conversation?
Mr. Mayor, we've already purchased what we would need to.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
As mentioned, your residential rates, so 1.5% increase for all customer classes, including your streetlights. But we do anticipate, based off of our FMPA rate proposals, to see a decrease in our purchase power cost. So the net impact to a customer should actually be a reduction in their utility bills based on the information we have from FMPA.
Dallas, how were we able to lower the rates there from the last budget workshop? What decisions were made that we're able to cut?
One of the biggest driving factors is we had budgeted a 10% increase in health insurance. We were able to get our health insurance rates at just over 6%. Additionally, we were able to negotiate with our property and casualty insurance providers, and we actually got a rate decrease in our property and casualty insurance.
So can you give it to me as a percentage? Because at the last time we talked about this, it seems like we had a resident that somehow got to like a 20% increase. And I wasn't following it. So for the average customer, they're increasing. Do you have a percentage increase that is?
I don't have a percentage, but I do have the dollar amount. So our previous impact across all tier electric, water, wastewater was $864 per month. The new proposed impact is $762 a month. So we were able to decrease it by an average of $1.
And the average bill is like 130.
It would be
200.
69 plus.
So about a 3% increase total across the board. Okay. In that range, right? I mean,
Yeah, obviously depends on
when
your
I hear a
decision.
resident say that's a 20% increase, a red flag goes up, right? Because I don't think anybody up here ever approves anything without an extraordinary situation at 20%. We always try to stay in that 5 or under range across all our departments. So we're looking at roughly about a 3% increase.
Yeah, 3 to 5% would probably be correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So here are the rate impacts for your non-residential customer classes, so your commercial, your demand, and your large demand customers. They're all increasing by that same 1.5%. Any questions on electric before I move? All right. And then as a reminder, here's your rates from June. The city of Newberry is right in the middle of the pack with even rates right about the municipal average of $122. In water operations, again, we were able to reduce the rate impact from 6.5 to 6. As you can see, we're slightly underwater, no pun intended, at $487 loss, but in a $1.5 million budget, that's pretty much in the noise. Again, part of the reasons we were able to reduce that is the reduction in our insurance costs. So here are your proposed rates in residential water. It's about a $2.07 per month increase for the average resident.
Now, can I interrupt you just 1 second? Mr. Diener, are we having any problems with the sound or the video feed? Is it?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I've just got 2 people saying we're going in and out a little bit, but maybe that's on their equipment's end. Is everybody's, all the other microphones? I know for a minute there, I forgot to turn my microphone back on, so that might just be me. All right,
Also,
just checking.
Raining outside, you know.
Yeah.
This does continue to keep us as the second lowest rate within our peer group. So as you can see, we're very competitive with all of our neighbors. And then we are increasing that same percentage for our non-residential customers.
And I think it's important to note, that we're talking about right now is our rate charges, right? We're not talking about development fees, right? So we try to keep our rate charges covering our operating expenses and our development fees covering new capital development. So when we say we're the second lowest rate, that's what we're talking about, is what we actually charge monthly to.
Elected officials understand it.
Yeah.
You want to take a bow? Also, looking at the 2022 average across the state, the average water bill was $41.72. In 2025, our average bill will be $36.40. So as you can see, we're well below the 2022 average across the state. And then if you escalate that based off of CPI, the average across the state would be $46. So on the water side, your water rates are about $10 less than the average across the state of Florida. Wastewater, again, able to offer a slight decrease from our original proposal of 10% to 9.5%. There was an FTE requested in the budget that was not funded this year. That's the wastewater operator. As a reminder, eventually we will have to fund that position when we build a new wastewater plant and our staffing requirements increase, but we were able to offer a little bit of rate relief this year. Again, here are your proposed rates for both residential and non-residential. Average impact for residential customers, approximately $6.80 per month, and we remain the second lowest wastewater provider in the region. So again, looking at it statewide, we're a little higher than the 2022 average across the state, but if you escalate that based off the CPI, and this is the CPI that the state of Florida comes out with for water and wastewater services, the average across the state would be $72, and you're charging $68.74. So again, lower than the state average in your wastewater charges. Any questions on water, wastewater?
Commissioner?
All right. Again, for your total monthly impact, our original impact was a 2% in electric, 6.5% in water, and 10% in wastewater for an average impact of $8.64 per month per customer. We were able to lower all of those rate increases by 0.5%, so it's a 1.5% for electric, 6% for water, 9.5% for wastewater, to lower the impact to $7.62 per month. So not a huge impact, but we know every little bit helps our customers. So that concludes the budget portion of this budget workshop, and I have one last item. So,
Commissioner, you got anything, any budgetary items that have not been made clear over the course of these budget workshops that you want to dig deeper into? All right now, all right.
I heard unanimous consent from the commission.
That's how the minutes will
Yeah.
Our very last item tonight we'd like to discuss is purchasing thresholds. Your city manager's purchasing threshold is currently $25,000 with some exceptions, like every month we pay the power cost bill, which is slightly above $25,000. Your manager's threshold also sets what our competitive bid threshold is, where we have to go out for sealed, closed bids. This was last updated in 2018, so if you run the CPI on that, we'd be about $31,000. We're requesting the commission consider increasing the city manager's purchasing threshold to $50,000. The primary driver behind this is not to give Mike more authority to purchase, but really and truly, we are having a hard time getting vendors who want to provide sealed competitive bids for small amounts of money for small projects. One example is the commission budgeted for us to restripe 2 basketball courts this year to become pickleball courts. We know it's about $30,000, but currently our purchasing policy precludes us from getting quotes. We have to go to a sealed bid, produce a sealed bid, it's 50 some odd pages long, put it down the street, accept sealed bids, open them, go through that whole process. So it stopped us from moving forward on that project. And then, like I said, the other side of it is it's a lot of work on our vendors to respond to a sealed competitive bid. And so we're seeing a lot of vendors who just choose not to bid on our projects because for $30,000, $35,000, it's not worth it for them to put together the bid package. So we are requesting that you increase that threshold from $25,000 to $50,000 for us to go to hard bid. And then as a point of reference, City of Alachua is currently set at $100,000 for their sealed bids and manager approval.
Is it gonna be on the agenda Monday night?
It would, if the commission approved this, it would be in part of your budget adoption process at the second hearing.
We can have a conversation.
Yeah, it's happened.
Since
Yeah.
we're down so many. Now, what is in my mind, those are two separate things. So the city manager's threshold, that's for any spending that's kind of out of the emergency situation kind of thing. And then there's the hard bid threshold. We just want to be 50 on both of it. It seems to me like the hard bid threshold should be probably closer to 100,000 because
It is typical.
while that's an enormous amount of money in my world, in construction world, that gets you some paint on
Yep.
the ground, right?
If the commission wanted to split the two and set the manager's threshold at a different threshold than the bid threshold, that's perfectly acceptable.
So
It's
are you-
pretty common that the city manager's threshold or the county manager's threshold is also the bid threshold.
It's the same amount.
Yeah, usually just because it keeps it kind of clear in everybody's mind. You know, it's this much, it's this approval with these things. If it's this much, it's this approval with these
I
things. You don't
gotcha.
have two separate. But like I said, if the commission wanted to set the bid threshold at 100 and the city manager's threshold at 50, we would
Well, I mean, because
still be making progress.
it seems to me that things like pressure washing these downtown buildings, you're not going to get one of those buildings, somebody to go up with a scaffold that reaches up that high and get all the grass and pressure washing, that's going to be 30,000, 35,000, right? But that's clearly something the CRA board has been interested in, and I can see that nobody wants to go do that, go through that amount of paperwork when, everybody's begging for business right now, so.
And they're happy to give us a quote. We would still require quotes and,
But you don't piece it together. It's not like the city manager has up to 50, and then I do a hard bid up to 50, and I can do both those on one project. These are just the amount for brevity.
it's still, like if, let's say the project is $60,000, it still has to get hard bid and it would still go to the city manager for approval. And if his approval is only 50, it'd come to the commission for approval. If it was $45,000, we'd still go to
It wouldn't go to hard
we
bid.
would get three quotes and it would still go to the city manager for approval.
So
as
no
up to this
matter,
50.
no matter what the amount, we still get 3 bids for,
No, our current policy is anything over $5,000 requires 3 quotes. And it's just a quote. And then 25 and above is a hard bid. City of Alachua's, for example, is 5 to 50,000 is 2 quotes, 50 to 100 is 3 quotes, and then anything over 100 is a hard bid.
I mean, that makes more sense to me. Anything over 5,000 requiring 3 quotes. We spend almost that much time in staff time.
So
Put that
if
out.
the rest of our purchasing authority, my purchasing authority, Jamie's, and the purchasing policy is all set underneath whatever you set the manager at. So if you set him at 50, it's under his discretion to set, you need 2 quotes at 5 quotes at 100, whatever those, as long as they meet, best practices and our auditors are happy with it.
All right, so Commissioner Coleman, give us your knee-jerk reaction here. We'll put that in, and then we'll have a conversation specifically about it, and we can change it between first and second reading if the commission disagrees. So, you good with the proposal right there, 50?
I'd say go with what Alachua doing.
I mean, Alachua sounds, I like that, especially with the number of quotes that you have to get and the ability to have that discretion. I think breaking it up that way, so if it's under 5,000, I can just move. Between 5 and 50, 2 quotes. Between 50 and 103.
I believe so. I'll double check before Monday night.
And that's a different question than what's on the screen right now. I get that, but
It all plays into each other.
right. But you like the 100K as the threshold?
Yeah.
All right, put that in, and then the commission can walk it back on Monday if they disagree.
What I'll most likely do is we'll have a separate discussion item. It's just
Right.
this outside of the budget items.
But it'll be written into the budget with,
So
With
if on Monday night, so you don't adopt his authority until the second hearing. So if on Monday night you give us the green light, when we come back for our second hearing, you'd see that in the budget.
right, okay.
And as Rod enters, that is my last slide. So
Sorry, Rod, we had to cut out all of the stuff for Easton. I don't know what happened. There was one department head wasn't here, so everybody took the money.
the rec department is gone.
All right, Commissioner comments on the budget workshop?
No, good job, guys, and, must be a busy, week this week, wherever.
Yeah. And I would just say, I echo, great job. I love it that our staff, right up until the last moment is still looking for ways to cut electric costs, utility costs, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you guys don't hear it as much as you should from residents, but the commission sees that level of commitment to driving the cost down and treating everybody equally and fairly and always thinking about the bottom dollar. And so I wanted you to hear it from us, how much we appreciate that. And anytime you can beat the state averages and everyone around us, at the end of the day, that's what we've said is always our bar, right? We just want to know how the people right around us are doing. If we're beating the people right around us, that's a fair measure. You know, if we're not beating someone, you know, across the other side of the country, well, I don't know what stick they're using to measure with. So with that, we'll open to public comments. Members of the public, you have anything to say? Sorry, Mr. Manager, did you have anything you want to say? There's a staff comment here, and I just went right over it.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing to add.
All right.
Covered it all.
Mr. Attorney,
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, Commissioner, you think something?
Well, at this next meeting, will we have any update on the referendum?
At your Monday night meeting, Mr. Jones will be giving a presentation, a high-level presentation of our road inventory. And then our plan is to have a special workshop where we discuss the actual referendum.
What goes into the referendum?
Correct.
Because we have to, for that to move forward, we have to say, these 10 projects go. And that's the part that I want to be careful with, because whatever we put in there, we have to do. So I'm thinking like, you know, there's the top 5 will get done, the next 5 we have every intention of doing, and then there's 3 or 4 more projects that if the world goes great, we'll do those too. But that way, you clearly, don't say, we're going to do these 10 projects, and then inflation keeps going, the devaluation of the dollar, and then we don't do 3 or 4 of them, right? So that's what I want to be careful that, you know, we don't get into what some of our neighboring communities have done of over-promising and under-delivering.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hearing no comments, we are adjourned.